Hi, my name is Daniela Yarbrough, and my persuasive speech is over rehabilitation versus incarceration. I just wanted to touch bases on this because it's actually something very personal to me. My sister has been an addict since she was 14 years old. From the very beginning, I can say that her addiction was never addressed. Rather, she was just punished ongoing for her mistakes and everything that, failed her in that sense. Confucius says it does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. This is especially true for addiction recovery. Most addicts will fall several times before they actually get to a place of healing and come to terms with what their addiction is, what it means, and how to help themselves. They have to want it. Nobody can make them want it for them. I'm not saying people shouldn't be held responsible for their actions, because they definitely should, but I do believe that there is a fine balance to it. There was so much more that can be accomplished if there was a balance. This would change aspects in everybody's lives from all aspects, just due to the fact that if you don't have a family or loved one directly that is an addict, somehow or another they're probably affected by an addict one way or another, and there's all types of addictions. So I actually pulled from several websites that were like rehabilitation and recovery websites for businesses that are actually open to help service. Turning Point of Tampa points out jail time does not actually deter people from using drugs or alcohol. It doesn't get to it. Their addiction's not cured. There is no cure for addiction. Once you're an addict, you're always an addict. It's just finding the root of everything and actually coping with that and finding other ways to cope with your problems. Red Wine Rehab Center pointed out, once you have a record, it makes it harder to get rehabilitated because you have a record now. And while obtaining housing and a job, everybody's going to pull your background. More than likely, you'll only get the opportunity for a minimum wage job. I'm not saying that's a problem, but I am saying that that normally isn't going to feed your children or anything, not to the fullest extent. Then you're potentially going to be looking at welfare. It's great for some, but not for everybody. And I say great, nobody really wants it. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to be able to do for themselves in somehow or another. Rehabilitation will assist with repeat offenders. I say that there should be some type of psych evaluation just to make sure that an addict is ready to actually address their issues and get clean, because if they're not ready, it's not going to matter. They can say whatever. Most addicts are mass manipulators. They know exactly what you want them to say and what you want to hear, but in the long run, a professional can see right through it and say whether they're actually ready to get clean. Someone is arrested every 25 seconds for drug use or on some type of drug possession. That's from Renaissance Recovery. So can you imagine how overfull or overfilled our systems and our prisons and our jails are just due to drug users, and how much more money could be spent if they were actually addressed and rehabilitated, as well as serving their time. And I'm not talking about the typical reform that our incarceration system offers, because unfortunately it's not what's needed. Hotel California by the Sea pointed out wars on drugs there has been a war on drugs since 1971. That's because there's never been a solution. It's always been the same approach. Until we find a balance, nothing's ever going to change. As I stated, until changes are made to approach rehabilitation or reforming our incarcerated, we'll get the same results. The cycle will eventually destroy them. If you read up on all of the statistics, it's just a vicious cycle that eats up, honestly, most of our underprivileged people that can't afford the big fancy rehabilitation centers or don't have mom or dad's money, rooting for them. And I say that because my dad has always tried to help my sister, even though, we kind of grew up in that neighborhood. That wasn't always the best. My dad's always done what he could to help her. But until she's truly ready, it's irrelevant. It's not going to work, and we've thought she's ready before, and we even think she's ready now, but who's to say? But bottom line is, addiction affects everyone, whether it's your loved one, your friends, your family. When it comes down to it, it affects your economy, because the more addicts that are out there and the more that they're incarcerated when they should be rehabilitated and not putting in their fair share to society, then that just means that's more on our plate as taxpayers. So there's a lot of different aspects you can look at it from, but when it boils down to it, you have to do your research, and you have to be willing to fight for something of this magnitude that, it's going to take a lot to change, but it's time.